years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure.
My name is Captain Isaac Nickel. I was born in New York on Valentine's Day in 1840. When I was 22, I recruited a company of volunteers to help save the Union. They elected me captain and commander, and we left for the South in September of 1862. On the day before we left, the ladies of the town presented me with a letter and a handsome sword. I carry it still, along with the Bible my father gave me. My men and I fought at Fredericksburg and then at Chancellorsville, and while I was on leave, the company was hit hard, and we lost 1/3 of our men.
Early morning, July 1st, 1863, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, now 2 years into the Civil War. After having his breakfast interrupted by a messenger, Lieutenant Marcellus Jones of the 8th Illinois Volunteer Cavalry is now racing northwest to join his small scouting patrol on Chambersburg Pike. Lieutenant Jones steadies his carbine on a fence, takes aim, and fires a warning shot at the advancing rebel line. The first shot is fired in the biggest battle of the Civil War. Yesterday's battle failed to move the Union flanks. Today, General Robert E. Lee begins his attack on the center of the Union line on Cemetery Ridge with cannon. 160 Confederate cannons aimed at the center mark, the copse of trees. The Union artillery of 100 cannons fire back in what is still the largest artillery battle ever fought in the Americas. Meanwhile, General J. Johnston Pettigrew's division of Southerners is battered, wounded, and exhausted from the previous 2 days of fighting, and these men take refuge in the trees behind the artillery battery, trying to protect themselves from Union cannon fire. Union infantry and a majority of cannons remain largely untouched and eventually fall silent. The strategy is to make the Confederates believe Union batteries have been destroyed, hoping to lure them into the large open field in front of them. It works. As Pettigrew's men advance, trees block their view on the right. Each commander only knows his intended target, the center of the Union line on Cemetery Ridge. It is a desperate assault to attempt, but the silence creates the belief that Union forces have suffered large losses. Confederates are convinced they will finish them off. Union General Alexander Hayes' artillery rains down on General Pettigrew's division. As men on the line fall, the survivors close ranks without being able to return fire, as they are too far away from the Union line to be effective. Union soldiers under Brigadier General Alexander Hayes rise up from behind a stone wall and deliver a continuous and concentrated wall of fire. The fences of Emmitsburg Road are a death trap. The few who emerge begin to withdraw. No decision from command is needed. The fight for them is hopelessly over. Pettigrew lost 1/3 of his attacking force, 470 men dead, 1,893 wounded, 337 captured, and never reached the Union line. When the Confederate artillery barrage of the Union position on Cemetery Ridge begins, Brigadier General John Gibbon's line of Union artillery is ready. But the rebel bombardment largely overshoots its targets, sparing most of the 100 Union guns and the soldiers in front of the artillery. Union cannons return fire as rebel shells explode behind them to little effect. The massive cannonade continues for 2 hours. The Union slowly ceases fire and moves its artillery back from the line in a tactic to preserve ammunition and lure the rebels out into the killing ground between them. Confederate Colonel E.P. Alexander, from his position near the peach orchard, believes the ruse and sends a message to General Pickett. "For God's sake," he says, "come quick, the 18 guns are gone. Come quick or I can't support you." Pickett, eager for glory, emerges from the smoke of the battlefield commanding a long gray line of men, shoulder to shoulder, marching toward the Union center. The Union cannon crews on Cemetery Ridge and Cemetery Hill quickly push their guns to the front and immediately fire on the rebels marching across the open field. General George Meade, commander of the Union forces, hearing the battle from his position near Culp's Hill, quickly rides toward the sound of guns. As he arrives, he sees hundreds of Confederates moving toward him. At first, Meade thinks they've broken through the Union line, but then realizes they're prisoners. "What happened?" he asks a Union soldier. The soldier's simple reply, "Victory." Meade takes his hat from his hand to throw it in the air, but seeing the utter devastation, slowly puts it back on, saying, "Thank God, thank God." After 3 days, the Battle of Gettysburg has ended. On the next day, July 4th, the 87th anniversary of America's independence, General Lee leaves Gettysburg for Virginia. His long and torturous retreat of soldiers and hospital wagons takes 11 days and stretches for 27 miles. Pickett's charge ended in defeat for General Lee. The high water mark of the battle and the Confederacy crested against an unyielding wall. Gettysburg, the battle Lee had hoped would force the Union to accept a negotiated peace, was the beginning of the end of the Civil War, a conflict waged over the definition of liberty, a war that would drag to a close 2 years later, bringing an end to slavery. However, the struggle to define liberty and equality continues today.
At Devil's Den, we were in a single line against the rebels. When they were 20 yards from us, our major, James Cromwell, suddenly charged forward on his horse, and we charged with him, shocking the Confederates into retreat. But I fear they will rally soon. I still have my father's Bible with me. And if fate is unkind, I have written in it my final hope. In case I am killed, and my body left on the field, the finder of this testament will please send it to my father, John Nickel, Blooming Grove, Orange County, New York.